Okay, we're starting the third parak of Brachot Hayakori Batorah. It's on Daf Yud Gimel Amid Aleph, and we're doing the unit 1, Hasbar number 1. Hayakori Batorah, a person was reading the Torah. We're going to find out what that means, reading the Torah. And he happened to be at the place in the Torah with the pasuk of Shema, which is in Sefer Devarim. And at the same time, the Higia Zman HaMikra, it was the time to recite the Shema. Higia, arrived, is the time of reciting the Shema. Im kivein libo, if he had in mind, if he had intention in his heart to fulfill the mitzvah of kriyat Shema, of reciting Shema, yatsa, he has fulfilled his mitzvah of reciting kriyat Shema. We know that twice a day, min Torah, we are to recite kriyat Shema. We learn it from the words uv'shachbacha when we go to bed, uv'kumecha, and when we wake up. So a person happened to be reading the Torah, a scroll of a Torah, and it happened to be at the same time for Zman Kriyat Shema, for reciting the Shema. So as he's saying the words, Im kivein libo, if his heart had in mind to fulfill the mitzvah of Kriyat Shema, Yotze, he fulfills his mitzvah Shema. And now the Mishnah continues. Shema is made up not only of 3 paragraphs, Shema, V'haya, V'yomer, but also it is bookmarked with brachot before it and brachot following the Shema. For our Mishnah's sake, we're going to talk about the morning brachot of Kriyat Shema. The first one is Yotze HaMa'orot, that we say after Baruch Hu. The second one is Ava Rabbah. Then we have the Shema, V'haya, V'yomer. And then the last bracha, which begins V'yatziv and ends with Go'al Yisrael. So what happens if you see a friend, when you're in the middle of these brachot, you're in between each one of these paragraphs, and you see a friend and you want to say hello? Or someone comes over to you while you're in between these paragraphs, between the paragraphs of V'yotze HaMa'orot, or Avarabba, or Shema, or V'haya, V'yomer, or Go'al Yisrael, and they say, hey, how you doing? Are you allowed to respond? And that's what the Mishnah wants to know. Is it okay to make an interruption while you're reciting the brachot of Kriyat Shema and the Shema itself? So it identifies the paragraphs of the brachot of Kriyat Shema. And as we continue, we're going to learn about a machloket, a dispute between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. In addition to this machloket between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda about making an interruption, there are 2 categories of people, or actually 3. The first category is people that you have to fear, like a king. And there are people that you have to have kavod for, respect, such as a parent. And then there's l'chol adam, just Joe citizen. So we're going to see how these things play out. Now, when we talk about the paragraphs, we're going to talk about bein haprakim, between the paragraphs, also as well as be'emtza, in the middle of the paragraph. So we're going to talk about the paragraphs, whether you're in the beginning, in between, or in the middle. We're going to talk about category of person, whether kavod, yira, or lechol adam. And we're going to talk about whether you can inquire, shoel, about that person, to that person, or meshiv, may respond to that person. So these are the factors that are coming along, and that's what the Mishnah is going to talk about. And I'll show you a chart at the end of this video to kind of maybe clear up some of the machloket. So, okay, baprakim, in between paragraphs, shoel mipnei hakavod umeshiv. If you're in between the paragraphs, you may inquire about someone's welfare. If it's someone who you have to have kavod for, umeshiv, and you may respond if they've asked you, or they asked you how you're doing, you may meshiv, you may answer them. Ube'emtza, and if you're in the middle of those paragraphs, the paragraphs of Shema or the brachot of Shema, shol b'bnei hayira umeshiv. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says, if you're in the middle, you may only inquire about someone that you have yira for, and answer only someone who is a person of yira, of a category of yira that you must fear. That's the words of Rabbi Meir. So we see already from Rabbi Meir that we're stricter when we're in the middle of a paragraph, as opposed to between paragraphs. We're going to make an assumption that yira, someone that you fear, is of a higher level, and therefore, even if you're in the middle, you can interrupt. Rabbi Yehuda says, be'emtza, when you're in the middle of a paragraph, shoel mifnei hayira, you may inquire to someone that you have to have yira for, umeshiv mifnei hakavod, but you may respond to someone that you have covered for. Baprakim, if you're in between the paragraphs, shoel mifnei hakavod, you may inquire to someone you have covered for, umeshiv, and you may respond shalom l'chol adam, to any person who says hello to you. If you're in between the paragraphs, you may respond to them. Here's a copy of the chart outlining the machlok between Meir and Yehuda. So when it comes to the paprakim, in between paragraphs, we see the Meir is the same when it comes to shoel umeshiv, inquiring and responding. It's kavod. But be'emtza, when you're in the middle of a paragraph, he says when he's doing shoel umeshiv, it has to be a person of yira, someone that you actually fear or have awe of. So therefore, emtza is obviously a little stricter because you're in the middle of a paragraph as opposed to in between paragraphs. Rabbi Yehuda seems to be a little more lenient than Rabbi Meir. When it comes to baprakim, shoel hakavod, you may inquire for someone of kavod, umeshiv, and respond to any person. When it comes to be'emtza, Rabbi Yehuda says shoel hayira, you can only inquire if you see someone that you have to have yira for, umeshiv, but you may respond even to a person of kavod. So if you look at the machloket is really about when is it appropriate to respond. Because when you see the categories of shoel, baprakim, shoel hakavod, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda are on the same page. And be'emtza, shoel hayira. They're both on the same page. Where do they have the machloket? When it comes to meshiv. Rabbi Meir says when it comes to baprakim, it's kavod. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it could be anybody you can respond to. When it comes to the middle of a paragraph, Rabbi Meir says it has to be only someone of yira, and Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it can be even someone of kavod. Okay?